Okay. Okay. The system seems to work now, so I'll try to create this video over the midterm. And there's an old video up there that I'll take down in all likelihood about the midterm from last year. As you know by now, uh, I changed the first four books. I don't know what I was thinking. It was a lot of extra toil. Um, and I had only intended to change three books, but there's a big problem with a fun book, The Carbon Diaries, which, if you want to have a different book to write your essay on, the one of the essay other than the two that you rewrite for the midterm and the final, that's an interesting one about environmental impacts with a really fun and feisty narrator. At any rate, um, so I decided that to do this video specifically about how to take the midterm. Now, the dates are written out there for you. Check to make sure that you know you start on the Tuesday. They're open and they go till Saturday at midnight. I used to do it just to Friday, but it is summer and we're in the July 4th area, so there you go. We take this exam during the fifth week when we'll be reading another interesting book. On those, as I'll write elsewhere for that week, the quiz and the discussion threads will be open till the following midnight Monday to give you more of an opportunity to organize yourselves and your time. Okay, part two, which I'll get to again later on, of the exam is a 2.5 to 3 page essay that you will cut and paste. Remember, cut and paste into the block for the essay, where you want to make sure you have paragraphs and ease of reading as though you're writing a regular essay for a regular class and turning it in. That part will be open unlimited times. You can go in there and work on it for a while, go out, return anywhere during the time that the links are open. Again, there's Central Time, and they'll close at midnight, 11:59 Central Time on that Saturday. Always keep records. Keep a record. I suggest for part one, too, part one, and I'll talk in greater length about both. And for part one, you will be given a choice of either ors for 5 prompts from the novels. The essay questions and the prompts are listed on the blog page, all of them, and also on the announcement for week 4. So you should have all the information. You have specific prompts from all 4 of the novels. So you want to look over them carefully. Remember, you want to write 7 to 9 sentences right in there, a real strong paragraph that addresses not simply an identification, but significance. And as I've highlighted and read, I believe, on the announcement page for week 4, when you take the exam, you have to write on, unless by some bizarre chance from the pool of 12 choices, you will write on 5, and they'll be all there for you. You have to write on at least 3 of the novels. All 4 are great, but if there's one novel you just don't feel like writing about, whatever it might be, then so good, all the better, fine with me, but make sure you write on 3 of the 4 books. The same will hold for the final exam. So 7 to 9 sentences. I suggest that you write everything out in Word and cut and paste it into the block space because if something should go wrong, I can't just redo one try of the exam or whatever. I have to clear it, and if I have to clear it, well, there's a problem. I've worked through things in the past. If you have all of them, you can send them to me. If something goes wrong and you've done all of them, great. If not, remember what they are. Write them down so if something goes wrong and you've completed them, you can write back to me with them. Don't just send them as backup, because that really clutters up an already cluttered up email at the college. So um, follow those suggestions and you should do just fine. Now, for both parts of the exam and for your other essay, I've put up on uh, with links on the announcement page on the blog that take you to my page, and also if you look in under the assignment folder, you'll see it. I think it's the third link down. Response to prompts. Um, is recorded in two places for your general ease. And there you'll find from the midterm of last year, we had four books again. The fourth one was Carbon Diaries 2016, and The Hunger Games. Now, most of you have watched or know The Hunger Games from in one form or another. They're very popular. They remain popular. Um, and so I picked out some pretty good responses. Um, and you can see they're in paragraph, nicely done. And so it says on the second one down, um, the tessera, and what does it mean? What's its significance? Well, read it, and I'll read it here with you if you want to stop the video to get there. It says, in exchange for extra rations of food and oil, children that are eligible for the games, ages 12 to 18, can submit their names for the reaping as many times as possible. This system ensures inequality between the rich and the poor, as the poor become more likely to be selected. So you could compare it to, if you will say, the difference in money between the rich and the poor, and you can see a same similarity in Shipbreaker. At any rate, most families in the districts need the tessera to survive. Um, and Gail uh, has entered 42 times by the 74th Hunger Games, while Katniss has had her name submitted 20 times just to get enough to survive. The capital has zero regards, and this is the significance, for the citizens in the districts, and the children are considered a form of entertainment, as their lives can be played like the lottery. The tessera, and here's more on, just talking about it or describing it, you want to focus on significance. The tessera also brings enmity, that's ill will, between the poor and the middle class citizens, like how Gail gets mad with Madge, it's the mayor's wife. She is the daughter of the mayor and therefore doesn't need to have her name entered in the tessera. The children of the poor are more likely to be sacrificed. President Snow tries all he can to ensure there is discord and permanent division amongst them, to make sure another uprising does not happen, because in order to revoke change there must be unity, and also the whole idea of, if you will, security, which is important in a story like Matched. So you see, in this response, and pretty much all the others, stronger or weaker, um, about the careers, or even the Rue is another good one. You can see that there is a discussion about what it is, but also, and more important, a description of its significance for larger issues in the novel or the series of books in the case there. So if you're going to talk about the outer provinces in Matched, um, we know that this goes on, and the people don't know much about it. Everybody's tranquil where Cassia lives. Everything looks normal. Everything is secure. Everything is going on. But in fact, as we come to find out at the end, there's a war going on in the outer provinces. And that war is coming closer to home, as we find, because of things going on, like the mother who comes back. Um, it's found a certain plant that will become very important in the other books if you bother to read them. And suddenly they're going to be relocated, and she says there's fear. And you'll see that nobody openly criticizes, and also Cassia's boyfriend, not her choice for her husband, is from that area. And he tells her stories about what's really going on. So through him, Cassia starts questioning the world around her. So the outer provinces is an area. We don't visit them uh, with any character. We stay in the borough. But all that tranquility, all that calm masks the truth. And that's what you get if you're talking about the outer provinces. If you were to talk about light crew in Shipbreakers, you'd want to do more than just say that's where Naylor works. He has a job. But the light crew are the people who go in and go into the bowels of the ship. You know, the Jackson boy is one of them who died. Everybody talks about that, and Luck. But also, it's a horrible world. It's reflective of a very cannibalistic society, and sloth is an example of that, where everybody just tries to look out for number one, despite the bonds that develop. You shake hands. It's more than a handshake, and you see that um, with the characters when they bond with the rich girl, and this whole code that goes with it. But also, we know that the light crew is not only is there the poverty and just the hope of lucky strike and whatnot, but there's also the idea that this light crew work is the benefits that come from it go to these large corporations. They never see them. They don't know much about it. Naylor's friend's mother is an organizer of the light crew, but for many it's a dead end. It's the part of this odd economy that informs the novel. So you can move in a lot of directions there. It's a dog eat dog world, as you might argue, but getting ahead after that. I mean, here we have these young people. There's like jockeys. If you grow, then the only option in a lot of places is to become a prostitute, sell your organs to harvesters, or get on the heavy crew. But otherwise, the options are almost non-existent, and life is consequently pretty damn bleak for people. So you're going to choose from a number of different ones. Sloth, I have them listed there. You can do the same with Camp Haven in the fifth wave. There, you have everything that looks familiar and secure, and you place your trust where it belongs in the military. But in fact, we find it's all a facade, that the colonel is actually inhabited by the aliens, whom we never meet because they're disembodied. But Cape Haven is the opposite of a haven. You know, that's like the when you entered Auschwitz, they had the thing "Work will make you free," and that just hides. And there's music playing, and all the other kinds of things. And it turns out to be basically a concentration camp. It's a place of triage and indoctrination of the young, uh, and to corrupt the young and to turn them into killing machines. And we find that with the can't remember her name off the top of my Cassia's younger brother. We find that with Ben Zombie, indoctrinated to believe in what they're doing, and what they're doing is completely the opposite of what they think it is. And so it's deception, taking advantage of the social circumstances. So for each of those, you have examples then, and I bid you look at them carefully, and then think about how you're going to proceed um, with your own uh, exam. Again, you have all the prompts there for you, and you just have to go through and read them. But then again, read carefully those selected for you. Again, now remember the rules, the time frame, keep the time frame. Um, keep the time frame in mind, and have things ready to go. Uh, Now, the essay, and then you have here, um, I gave you 4 choices for prompts and the essay too. Another cardinal rule here. because I find out particularly all the time, do not go to Spark Notes and these other places to write down what they say about a character, for instance. The only time you're going to talk about specific characters in a regular character analysis will be number 4. But a number 4 asks you something very specific to do, to talk about. And this is what science fiction does. It lures you into the familiar, what looks familiar, and then you have a complete reversal. Uh, so everything looks normal, and then the EMP comes after the arrival. Things fall apart. But we have here a very familiar conflicts in a very unfamiliar context, and that is to say, if you look at Daisy from How I Live Now. Um, you can write about her, but don't just say, well, she's this American and she goes and this happens to her and this happens to her. What happens to her is that she comes over there an anorexic with all kinds of other problems. She sees herself as a murderer, and she just becomes part of this wonderful community that, of course, eventually um, you can't hide from the world around you in this global world. They're invaded, they have to go to a sequestering center. And what happens along these lines is what you want to talk about, because the circumstances they reveal, her trauma, her weaknesses, but they also suggest the way that those horrible, horrible circumstances, in fact, um, affect her growth. Um, that is to say, her growth as a person. Um, she's 15. All of our characters are of a similar age. And you can go through there, but notice that you want to address not just the character and the development, but you want to do it within the context of the world the author creates. And in these worlds, characters, the characters, even in these science fiction ones, play a determined role, from Daisy to Cassia, who starts out completely content and then by the end has become a rebel. And you can talk about her in terms of what the conflict is, the love for the grandfather, things along those lines. Um, and, I mean, the ambivalent role of technology in Match. To technology is king, if you will, in this surveillance society, more so than our other stories. But what's caused that? How she grows to see the truth of what the use of technology creates. Now, the opposite of that would be a question of about the fifth wave, and that would be that what happens is that they become so dependent upon technology that the EMP of the first wave causes havoc because it reveals the fragility of the threads that actually do hold society or our civilization together. And they get severed as we move along to earthquakes and floods and then a pandemic, all leading to the creation of what comes to be the fifth wave. And so go through each of them, shipbreaker, economics, and very much in this case, it's the reflection of the real world is the fact of the haves and the have-nots, of the distribution of wealth, of the consequences of things like Nike, or the having people, companies and corporations making things in Bangladesh where they don't have as much regulation, and what is their role here. I can't remember the word that he uses. It's called the blood buyers, as Naylor calls the large corporation um, that owns the Pole Star and these other beautiful, beautiful ships that ply the oceans. In fact, they're sort of kind of blind to where they get their material from and the horror of the workers and of a light crew or something along those lines. So you can develop a whole essay around how the society works and how everybody it's just agreed and you may be close to those within your group, but you have other people around who are willing to buy organs to send over to China or Japan. There's always a market, and the people are turned into commodities. And life is cheap, if you will, and sloth, like as sloth underscores. So each of these questions ask you to focus in a specific way. And again, you have to think about these in your own words. And don't cut and paste what someone said about matched, uh, uh, because you have to organize the essay in your own words, which requires thought. Now, the midterm part two will be open from that Tuesday until midnight Saturday, and you can return to it unlimited number of times. So you can have a record there, which you can modify. I suggest that you also work on it as a Word document. You're fine to go in there and work and make your paragraphs and all that. Just make sure you keep a backup in case something goes wrong, which happens more than you'd like in with the use of, technology. Now, there are essay responses up there for you. Um, you know, and I put two of them there just to show you that these are pretty good. You want in your first paragraph to set the essay up. And here you go. You can read it's the comparisons between Alma Coin and Coriolanus Snow. It is quite clear from the beginning. Um, it is quite clear from the beginning of the Hunger Games trilogy that the main antagonist of this story is the ruthless and tyrannical dictator of Panem, President Coriolanus Snow. Often described as snake-like, President Snow has no qualms about using intimidation in pursuit of his agenda, as seen in his threats to Katniss and his merciless execution by those who displease him. By his actions um, and intentions, we can safely assume President Snow is as villainous as they come. However, the less obvious, yet perhaps equally as dangerous antagonist of the story doesn't appear till the final book, Alma Snow, Alma Coin, and you're going to have to go on and identify her, but you're going to see that, in other words, they look like they're quite different. She's from the 13, and Snow is the one we see all the time, and then the underground, if you will, is um, is Coin, the white Coin. Katniss's initial impression of Coin left her feeling apprehensive. Something suggested to Kat that Coin wasn't the figure of democracy many hoped for, and sure enough, Katniss soon realized just how power-hungry Coin was. The callous Coin was also deeply, deceptively intelligent, and she possessed extraordinary powers of manipulation. Using Katniss as a symbol of the rope, for instance, she was flawlessly able to influence the whole of Panem into a civil war. And it goes on and talks again. It says later on, as discussed previously, President Coin is capable of the same kind of cruelty as President Snow, as seen in Mockingjay when she takes outrageously ruthless actions to ensure her ascension to power. However, the decisive distinction between Snow and Coin's action is stratagem. Coin portrayed herself as a symbol of democracy and a hope for a new Panem. She made herself out to be the better alternative to Snow's totalitarian rule. Yet her intentions and drive for power were no different. Essentially, President Coin cloaked her evil actions with the pretense of good intentions, whereas President Snow never concealed his true nature. One could say that Alma Coin is the more frightening antagonist of the two because she is capable of such deception. Her ability to conceal her evil intentions makes her a dangerous adversary. President Snow, on the other hand, is upfront with Katniss the entire time, never hiding his true colors. Oh, Miss Aberdeen, I thought we had agreed not to lie to each other. And so you have a nice focus there. Um, the next essay talks about the Hunger Games in the arena. and its significance for the entire novel. And so you'd see here in this essay is a strategy you want to follow in your own essay, which is every paragraph in that essay, those two essays that are there, focuses upon the main idea. There's none of this going off in tangential directions. It gets set up in the very beginning that those two seem very much different, but both of them turn out to be very much the same uh, in their goals, which is domination and whatnot. And so, whatever you choose to write on, and this discussion pertains to your other essay. Now, whatever it is, you want to narrow the focus. You want to stay clear of plot summary. Notice there is no long retelling of what happened. What it says is that she's capable of this, for example. And then you refer to some specific or, you know, the use of a quotation to reinforce what you have to say is a perfect example in that paper I just read, where she talks about how Snow, unlike Coin, Snow reveals his cards. He tells her exactly what's going on, and then says that wonderful quotation, which reinforces what the writer had already said. Oh, my dear Miss Everdeen, I thought we agreed not to lie to each other. Um, that's a really great use of a quotation or a description from the story to reinforce uh, what you have written. You want to steer clear of just retelling the story. Now, if you decide that you wanted to write, for instance, on economics and the shipbreaker, a 3-page essay, for the essay component of the entire class, fine. Just don't write the same essay for exam number 1 and then go around and turn in the same essay. Believe me, people have tried. Um, I have a good memory for these things. Uh, so you have the option of using one of these other 3 for your essay. Now your essay is going to be, is 2.5 to 3 pages for the midterm. I want you to get around 3 pages, 3 to 3.5 for your big essay. You have, I wrote down to week 6, and that means that if you want to get it back, you have to turn it in at at a certain time before the end of week 6, so that I have a time to read it and turn it over and get it back to you, so that you can do a revision and elevate your grade. Now there are essay videos available. Week 3, I put them up for this past week, that talk about the essays. I now have 2 from the Hunger Games that are available for you in the on the class web page, and I'm pretty sure I have them under assignments too. But if you go to the link for children's literature for summer on my thing, and you go click classwork for regular class and dystopian fiction, if you click on that link and you go down, you'll see dystopia and contemporary society and an essay on dystopian fiction. Um, and these are pretty good essays. The one of them talks more in a long run about how the Carbon Diaries and the Hunger Games fit in with 1949 and George Orwell's 1984 novel. I would prefer something a bit more specific, but the author had a good topic and she wrote a good essay. And the same applies for reality and appearance in the Hunger Games. Um, she does a good job, offers some specific comments, and tries to make connections with a couple of the other novels, including The Knife of Never Letting Go and The Other Side of the Island, which we will read in the second half of this semester. So all that material is available for you and give you some really good ideas to think about for your own work. And make sure it's your own work. Again, do not cut and paste from the internet. If you're going to use a quotation from the internet, make sure that you provide the documentation of where you got it. Otherwise, you're dealing in plagiarism, and basically what plagiarism is: intellectual, not only dishonesty but laziness. So do your own work, get it into me, and you'll have a chance to revise and elevate the grade. And hope you'll do an excellent job on the midterm examination. If you have any questions, of course, you just contact me.